What if I told you you've been asleep your entire life, not in the literal sense, but in the way you experience reality? You wake up, go through your daily routine, make choices, talk to people, and feel like you're in control. But what if you're not? What if most of your thoughts, actions, and decisions were never truly yours? What if your reality has been carefully shaped, your beliefs implanted, and your mind conditioned without you even realizing it? And what if, write us, now you're trapped in an illusion, one designed to keep you unaware, passive, and obedient? This is the question few dare to ask. But today, we're going to answer it. From the moment we are born, we are given a script. We are taught how to behave, what to believe, what success looks like, and what failure means. Society, schools, family, culture, and even the media mold us into predictable, manageable individuals. We think we are making choices, but in reality, most of our decisions are pre-programmed. Have you ever stopped to ask yourself, why do you pursue success the way society defines it? Why do you believe what you believe? Why do you fear stepping outside the norm? The truth is, you've been conditioned. Most people live their lives reacting, rather than consciously choosing. They are prisoners of routine, repeating the same thoughts, same behaviors, and same cycles every single day, without ever questioning them. This is what Carl Jung called the persona, a mask that people wear, believing it to be their true self. But beneath that mask, something else exists, something hidden. Neurologists estimate that up to 95% of our actions are controlled by the subconscious mind, not by conscious decision-making. Think about that. Only 5% of your daily actions are the result of deliberate thought. The rest? Habits, reflexes, patterns, conditioning. You wake up and check your phone, not because you chose to, but because it's a habit. You react to certain people or situations in predictable ways, not because you've thought deeply about them, but because your brain has trained itself to respond automatically. You work, spend, consume, and repeat, because that's what everyone else does. The brain is wired for efficiency. It doesn't want to waste energy making new decisions every moment. So it relies on shortcuts, routines, and learned behaviors. And this is where the trap lies. If your life is being run on autopilot, then who is really in control? Most people don't even realize they are trapped. Why? Because the system is designed to be comfortable. You are given just enough distractions to never ask deeper questions. You are given just enough security to never feel the need to challenge the system. You are given just enough entertainment to never feel the emptiness inside. The truth is, breaking free is painful. Waking up means facing everything you've avoided. It means questioning everything you've been taught. It means losing the comforting illusion and stepping into the unknown. And that is why most people choose to stay asleep. But what happens when you wake up? It's not what you think. It's not a moment of enlightenment where everything becomes clear and perfect. It's a crisis, a breaking point, a complete collapse of everything you once believed. Because once you see the illusion, you can never unsee it. And that's when you realize the hardest part isn't waking up, it's staying awake. Do you know how society keeps you asleep? If you don't control your mind, someone else will. Most people believe they are free to think, to choose to live however they want. But what if I told you that your thoughts, your desires, and even your fears are not entirely your own? What if your entire reality has been carefully shaped, engineered, and manipulated to keep you asleep, to ensure that you never question the system, never step outside the box, and never become truly free? This isn't a conspiracy. This is how society is designed, and today you're going to see exactly how they do it. Let's start with the education system. Schools are supposed to teach you how to think. Instead, they teach you what to think. From the moment you step into a classroom, you are placed into a system that rewards obedience over curiosity, compliance over creativity, and memorization over critical thinking. You are taught to follow rules, not challenge them. You are told what is correct, not encouraged to think for yourself. You are trained to fit into the system, not to question its existence. Think about it. When was the last time school taught you how to think independently, how to master your emotions, how to build real wealth instead of chasing a paycheck? It didn't. Because the system isn't designed to create leaders, freethinkers, or revolutionaries. It's designed to create workers, people who obey, people who accept their role, people who never wake up. But school is just the beginning. Once you graduate, you enter another system. A system designed to keep you so distracted, entertained, and overstimulated that you never stop to question what's really happening. It's called modern sedation. Social media gives you constant dopamine hits, keeping you addicted and mentally drained. Entertainment bombards you with endless content, so you never have to sit in silence and think. Consumerism convinces you that happiness comes from buying more things, keeping you trapped in an endless cycle of working and spending. And here's the sinister part. Everything is designed to make sure you never get bored, because boredom is dangerous to the system. When you're bored, your mind starts working. When you're bored, you start thinking about your life. When you're bored, you begin to wake up. That's why society fills every second of your life with distractions. They don't want you to think. They just want you to consume. But some people do wake up. They realize the game is rigged. So, what does the system do? It gives them the illusion of freedom. You're told you can choose your career, yet every path leads back to the same cycle of work and consumption. You're told you have democracy, but real power is controlled behind the scenes. You are told you are free, but if you ever step outside the system, you are punished for it. The truth is, most people never escape, because they never see the cage they're trapped in. But once you do, everything changes. Waking up isn't easy. It's painful. It's terrifying. And it comes with a cost, because once you start seeing through the illusion, you can never go back. The comfort of ignorance is gone forever, and that's where things get difficult. So the question is, are you ready to see the truth? Or will you choose to stay asleep? Have you ever opened your phone just to check one thing, and then suddenly an hour disappears? Or have you ever driven home only to realize you don't even remember the journey? That's not a glitch. That's how your brain is designed. The human brain is an energy-saving machine. It doesn't want to work harder than it has to. So instead of analyzing every decision from scratch, your brain builds shortcuts, mental habits that allow it to operate with minimal effort. Waking up at the same time, reaching for your phone without thinking, scrolling endlessly on social media. All of these actions feel like choices, but they're not. They're habits wired so deeply into your brain that they happen automatically. It's the same reason why you eat the same foods every day. You take the same route to work. You follow the same routines without even questioning them. Your brain loves predictability. But here's the danger. If you never interrupt the program, you can live your entire life on autopilot without ever truly thinking. And that's exactly what society wants. Because people who don't think, don't question anything, but it gets worse. Not only does your brain crave shortcuts, it is also wired for pleasure. Enter dopamine. Dopamine is the reward chemical that fuels your brain. It is what drives you to seek pleasure, avoid discomfort, and repeat behaviors that feel good. And guess who exploits this better than anyone? Social media, entertainment, advertising. Every major platform, app, and website hijacks your brain's dopamine system, ensuring that you stay addicted to short-term pleasure instead of long-term growth. TikTok, Instagram, and YouTube Shorts give you endless dopamine spikes, so you keep scrolling. Video games and binge-watching shows provide instant gratification, so you stay distracted. Junk food and sugar-loaded drinks create chemical cravings, so you eat without control. And here's the scariest part. Your brain is being rewired. The more you chase easy dopamine, the harder it becomes to focus, to think deeply, or to delay gratification. This is why people struggle to read books. People can't sit in silence. People feel anxious when they're not consuming something, because their brain has been trained to crave stimulation every second of the day. This is why time disappears, because you're not living consciously. You're being drugged by dopamine. And the worst part? The people who built these systems, the engineers at Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube, they know exactly what they're doing because they designed these platforms to keep you hooked. Infinite scrolling, so you never hit a stopping point. Personalized algorithms, so content is perfectly crafted to your interests. Autoplay videos, so you don't have time to think before the next video starts. You don't decide how long you stay on these platforms. They decide for you, because the longer you stay, the more ads you see. And the more ads you see, the more money they make. Your attention is the product, and your addiction is their business model. So what does this mean? It means that unless you wake up, unless you consciously take control of your mind, you will spend your entire life running the same programmed routines over and over again. You will scroll mindlessly instead of reading, watch Netflix instead of working on your dreams. Stay distracted instead of facing the reality of your life, because that's exactly what the system wants. But there is a way out. And in the next chapter, we're going to expose exactly why breaking free from autopilot is so difficult, and how to do it. Imagine you're trapped in a cage, but instead of bars, the walls are made of comfort. You have food, you have entertainment, you have routine. Everything feels safe. But what if I told you this comfort is a prison? Most people don't want freedom. They want familiarity, because freedom means uncertainty. It means discomfort. And for the majority of people, comfort is more important than truth. This is why most people never wake up, not because they can't, but because they won't. And today, we're going to expose exactly why. Why people choose familiar suffering over the unknown, the fear of discomfort. Because change is painful. Because to change, you must face the unknown. And for most people, the unknown is terrifying. This is why people stay in toxic relationships. People remain in jobs they hate. People continue routines that make them miserable, because misery feels safer than uncertainty. It's called learned helplessness, a psychological condition where people suffer from a situation. 2, get used to it. 3, convince themselves they can't change it. Until one day, they stop trying altogether. They believe, this is just how life is. I have no choice. I'm not in control. But in reality, they are choosing comfort over freedom. But what happens when someone shows them the truth? They reject it. It's called cognitive dissonance, the mental discomfort people feel when confronted with evidence that challenges their beliefs. The truth hurts. It threatens their identity. It forces them to admit they were wrong. And most people would rather stay asleep than deal with that pain. This is why people ignore facts that contradict their worldview. People defend the system even when it exploits them. People attack those who try to wake them up, because waking up is not comfortable. It means realizing that you were lied to. You wasted time believing something false. You have to start over. And for most people, that's too much to handle. The Matrix effect, why people reject inconvenient truths. There's a reason why the movie The Matrix is so powerful, because it exposes a real psychological phenomenon. In the film, Morpheus offers Neo 2 choices: the blue pill, stay in the illusion, live in comfort, and never question reality. The red pill, face the truth, break free, and see the world as it really is. And this is exactly how people react in real life. When confronted with the truth, most people choose the blue pill. They ignore the signs. They rationalize the system. They convince themselves that everything is fine, because facing reality means leaving their comfort behind. It's easier to believe. The government has my best interests at heart. The education system is designed to help me succeed. If I just work hard, everything will turn out fine. But the truth, most of what you've been told is a lie. And waking up means you have to unlearn everything. But here's the thing. Once you see the truth, you can never unsee it. Once you realize that you've been conditioned, that your choices were never truly yours, that you've been sleepwalking through life. There's no going back. Most people never wake up, because the few who do have to face the hardest journey of all, the journey of breaking free. And in the next chapter, we're going to explore exactly what happens when someone finally decides to wake up. What if I told you you're not as free as you think, that every decision you've ever made, what you eat, where you work, who you love was never really your choice? It felt like a choice, but in reality, it was an illusion, because the truth is, your subconscious mind made the decision before you even realized it. And today, we're going to prove it. Most people believe they have full control over their actions, that they weigh options carefully and make rational decisions. But science tells a different story. Studies in neuroscience have found that your brain decides what you're going to do before you become aware of it. In one famous experiment, neuroscientists used brain scans to monitor people making simple choices. Thus, results: the brain made a decision up to 7 seconds before the person consciously chose it. Meaning, by the time you think you're making a decision, it's already been made. Let's take this even further. Psychologists have spent decades studying how easily human decisions can be manipulated. Here are just a few shocking experiments. The shopping mall trick people were shown 4 identical pairs of socks and asked to choose the best one. Most chose the last pair they saw, but believed they had a real reason for their choice. Reality? Their brain just made a random decision and then rationalized it afterward. The restaurant experiment menu was secretly designed to make people order certain dishes more often. Simply placing an item at the top of the menu increased its popularity. People swore they picked what they wanted to eat, but the menu had already made the choice for them. The hidden influence of smell a store pumped out a specific scent near expensive clothing sections. Sales went up. Why? People associated the scent with luxury without realizing it. All of these studies prove one thing. Most of your choices aren't really yours. You're just following patterns and invisible nudges without ever noticing. But here's where it gets even scarier. People think their beliefs and opinions are formed by deep thinking, but in reality, most of them are just repeated programming. Think about it. Why do you support certain political views? Why do you like certain brands? Why do you have specific fears and desires? Most of these weren't chosen. They were given to you. From the moment you were born, you were taught what to believe, conditioned to follow authority, trained to accept the reality others created for you. By the time you're an adult, you mistake that conditioning for free will, and that's exactly what the system wants. So here's the real question. If you've been conditioned your entire life, if your subconscious makes choices before you do, if your decisions are influenced by factors you don't even see, then do you really have free will, or are you just following a script that was written for you? This is the terrifying truth. Most people will never wake up to this reality. They will live and die believing they are free. But if you're still watching this, then you have a choice to make. Will you keep sleepwalking through life, or will you take control of your mind before someone else does? And in the next chapter, we'll reveal how to break free from this invisible control. What if I told you the thing that controls you isn't your job, your habits, or your routine? It's your fear. Fear isn't just an emotion, it's a weapon, and right now, it's being used against you. Fear of the future, fear of failure, fear of what others think. Most people never question their reality because they're too afraid. But what if everything you fear was designed to keep you asleep? Think about it. Every major system, governments, corporations, media, all of them use fear to control people. Fear of poverty keeps people working dead-end jobs. Fear of rejection makes people seek approval instead of truth. Fear of the unknown stops people from breaking free. And the worst part? It works. People don't resist the system because they're too afraid of what happens if they do. And those in power? They know it because a fearful society is an obedient society. Let's break this down further. Why is fear the #1 tool of the media, Because fearful people don't think critically. Every headline is designed to create panic. Every breaking news story keeps people on edge. Every political crisis, every health scare, every financial crash keeps people in a constant state of anxiety. And when people are scared, they become irrational. They act without thinking. Divided. They fight each other instead of the real enemy. Dependent. They look for someone to save them. And guess who provides the solution? The same system that created the fear in the first place. But fear doesn't just come from the media, it comes from other people. Society teaches you to be afraid of judgment, afraid of standing out, afraid of speaking your mind, afraid of going against the crowd. Because the moment you stop following the script, people will attack you. They'll call you weird, crazy, delusional, not because they're right, but because your existence threatens their illusions. And most people would rather attack the truth than face it. So here's the real question. What if fear isn't just controlling you? What if fear is the prison? And what happens if you stop being afraid? If you stop caring what people think? If you stop reacting to the fear-based lies fed to you every day? That's when you wake up. Because the system only works if you stay scared. What if I told you you've never actually been alone? Not with your friends, not in your room, not even in your own mind? Because every time there's silence, you reach for a distraction, scrolling social media, playing music, watching another show, and you tell yourself, it's just entertainment, it's just passing time. But what if it's something more? What if distraction is a prison? In the past, people had time to think. Philosophers spent years in isolation, questioning reality. Inventors and artists let their minds wander. But today, thinking has become rare, because deep thinking requires silence, which most people fear, patience, which the internet has destroyed, discomfort, which modern life avoids at all costs. Instead, society offers quick dopamine hits to keep people passive, and the worst part, it's not an accident. Here's a shocking fact. The average person spends 8+ hours a day consuming content. That's 1/3 of their entire life. And what do they create? Nothing. They don't write. They don't build. They don't think for themselves. Because every moment they could be creating, they're consuming instead. And that's exactly what the system wants. A world of passive consumers, not independent thinkers. What if I told you, waking up isn't the end of suffering, it's the beginning. Because the truth, it doesn't set you free right away. First, it breaks you. Escaping the illusion is not easy. Every person who wakes up goes through 5 brutal stages. Stage 1, shock, realizing everything you believed was a lie. Stage 2, denial, wanting to go back to the comfort of ignorance. Stage 3, anger, feeling betrayed by the system, society, and even yourself. Stage 4, acceptance, understanding that reality isn't what you thought. Stage 5, action, learning to navigate life with a new perspective. Most people, they never make it past stage 2, because the moment the truth gets uncomfortable, they turn back. Why most people run back to comfort. Instead of pushing forward, think about it. Have you ever tried to change your life, only to feel lost, confused, or even worse than before? That's because breaking free from the system destroys the identity you were given. And for most people, that's terrifying. So what do? They go back to their old habits. They convince themselves it wasn't that bad. They find distractions to numb the discomfort. Because the alternative? Taking full responsibility for their life. And most people would rather live a comfortable lie than face an uncomfortable truth. Here's the brutal reality. Waking up means leaving things behind. Toxic people, old ways of thinking, everything that kept you asleep. And that hurts, because even a prison can feel like home if you've lived in it long enough. And many people return to their prison, not because they love it, but because freedom feels too unfamiliar. So here's the question, are you strong enough to keep going? Because waking up isn't just about seeing the truth. It's about choosing to live with it. And in the next act, we'll reveal how to rebuild your life after waking up. Because knowing the truth is just the beginning. What you do with it is What really matters? Who really controls your life? What if I told you that every thought in your mind, every decision you make wasn't really yours? What if your beliefs, your habits, even your desires were placed there by something else? Governments, corporations, algorithms. Your entire reality may have been designed for you, but here's the real question. Can you break free, or will you spend your entire life playing someone else's game? The first step to escaping the system, you must become your own teacher, because everything you've been told, go to school, get a degree, get a job, retire, at 65. Success means working harder, making more money, buying more things. Happiness comes from approval, status, and fitting in. It's all part of the same trap. It keeps you running in circles, thinking you're in control, when in reality, you're just following orders. So start questioning everything. Who benefits from me believing this? Where did this belief come from? What would happen if I rejected it? Because the moment you start asking questions, the system starts to break down. Step 2. The power of solitude. Most people never escape because they never take time to think for themselves. Instead, they drown in social media. They let influencers, celebrities, and the news tell them what to believe. They keep themselves busy so they never have to sit alone with their thoughts. But if you truly want to wake up, you must step away from the noise, find silence, think deeply, because the answers aren't out there, they're inside you. Step 3. Escape the digital prison right now. Your mind isn't even yours. It belongs to your phone, your favorite shows, the news cycle that keeps you in fear. Your attention is their currency, and as long as they control it, they control you. So if you want real freedom, you must take back your mind. Cut down your screen time. Stop chasing mindless entertainment. Learn to live without constant distractions, because the moment you reclaim your attention, you reclaim your power. Step 4. Learn how to think, not what to think. Here's the secret. Most people don't think, they just repeat. They take in opinions from the internet, from friends, from the media, and they never stop to question them. But if you want to break free, you must train your mind, read philosophy, study logic, learn how propaganda works, and most importantly, never accept anything without questioning it first, because once you learn how to think, no one can ever control you again. So now, the choice is yours. Will you take back your mind, or will you keep following the program? What if everything you believe, every opinion you hold, every value you defend, was never truly yours? What if the way you see the world was simply a reflection of what you've been told? Because here's the terrifying truth. Most people never have a single original thought in their entire lives. They repeat what they hear, they believe what they're told, and they never, ever stop to ask, is this actually true? So the real question is, can you learn to think for yourself, or will you always be a prisoner of someone else's mind? Most people don't think, they imitate, because real thinking, it's hard. It forces you to question everything, and that's uncomfortable. So instead, people adopt the beliefs of their parents. They follow the opinions of their social group. They conform to the dominant narrative just to fit in. This is groupthink, and it's one of the most powerful tools of control. Because when everyone thinks the same, no one questions anything. Here's the problem. If you start thinking for yourself, you will lose friends, you will be labeled difficult, you will make people uncomfortable, you will be seen as a threat. Because independent thinkers disrupt the system. They expose the lies, they challenge authority, they refuse to follow blindly, and history proves it. Socrates was executed for questioning society. Galileo was persecuted for challenging the church. Revolutionaries were exiled for refusing to conform. But in the end, they changed the world, because the people who think for themselves are the only ones who ever do. So how do you escape the trap? How do you develop a mind that questions everything instead of blindly accepting? It starts with 3 simple steps. Step 1. Challenge your own beliefs. Take a belief you hold deeply. Something you've always assumed to be true. Now ask yourself, Where did this belief come from? Do I have actual evidence for this? What if I'm wrong? Because true intelligence isn't about defending what you already believe. It's about being willing to destroy your own illusions. Step 2. Expose yourself to opposing ideas. Hans. People only listen to things they already agree with. They read news that supports their views. They follow influencers who tell them what they want to hear. They stay in social circles that reinforce their beliefs. But real thinkers, they seek out the opposition. Read books that challenge your worldview. Listen to debates instead of just arguments you agree with. Be willing to change your mind when the facts demand it, because if you never challenge your own thinking, you aren't thinking at all. Step 3. Stop seeking social approval. This is the hardest step, because the moment you start thinking differently, people will turn against you. They will try to shame you into conformity. They will say, "You're being difficult. You're overthinking." Just accept things the way they are. But here's the truth. Every great thinker, every innovator, every revolutionary was told the same thing, because the system doesn't want people who think. It wants people who obey. What if your entire worldview was never truly yours? So now ask yourself, how much of what you believe did you actually choose, and how much of it was simply given to you? Because the moment you start thinking for yourself, you become free. But the moment you stop questioning, you go back to sleep. Think about this. How much of your day is truly your choice? Do you wake up and immediately check your phone? Do you scroll endlessly without realizing how much time has gone? Do you fall into the same unproductive loops day after day? Here's the brutal truth. Your habits are controlling your life, and until you take control of them, you will stay stuck. Because breaking free isn't just about thinking differently, it's about acting differently. And that starts with mastering the art of breaking bad mental habits. Here's the secret. The only way to break bad habits is to interrupt the pattern, because your brain works like this. Trigger, routine, reward. Let's say you always check your phone first thing in the morning. Trigger, you wake up. Routine, you grab your phone. Reward, you get dopamine from notifications. The key to breaking this? Interrupt the pattern. Instead of reaching for your phone, get out of bed immediately. Instead of scrolling aimlessly, read for 5 minutes instead of procrastinating. Start with 2 minutes of work. Small pattern interrupts, break the loop, and once you disrupt the cycle enough times, the old habit dies. How? Small daily changes create massive transformations. Think about this. If you improved by just 1% every day in 1 year, you wouldn't be 365% better. You would be 3,800% better, because small changes compound over time. That's why the key to rewiring your brain isn't one huge shift. It's consistent. Tiny upgrades? Here are 3 ways to take control of your mind and finally break bad habits for good. The 5-second rule. Stop overthinking, start acting. If you hesitate for too long, your brain will talk you out of action. So, whenever you feel resistance, count down from 5, then act. Or 4, 3, 2, 1, go. Feeling lazy? Start moving. Procrastinating? Begin the first step. Stuck in overthinking? Make a decision. This simple technique rewires your brain for action. Habit stacking. Make good habits. Effortless. Want to break a bad habit? Attach it to a good habit you already have. For example, if you want to start journaling, write 1 sentence after brushing your teeth. If you want to stop procrastinating, start work immediately after your morning coffee. If you want to quit social media, replace scrolling with reading a book at the same time. Your brain loves routines, so use that to your advantage. The identity shift. Change who you believe you are. The fastest way to change your habits. Change your identity, because if you still see yourself as a lazy person, a procrastinator, someone who isn't disciplined, then no matter how hard you try, your subconscious will pull you back. Instead, start seeing yourself as a disciplined person, someone who takes action immediately, a person who controls their own mind. Because when your identity shifts, your habits automatically follow. So now ask yourself, how many of your struggles are just habits you haven't broken yet, and how different would your life be if you took control of them today? Because your future self isn't created by big, dramatic changes. It's built by what you do every single day. So the real question is, are you willing to break free? Or will you keep repeating the past? Ask yourself, if waking up from the illusion of society was so simple, why do so few people actually do it? Why do people stay in toxic jobs, unhealthy relationships, and mindless routines? Why do they ignore reality, even when they know they're trapped? The truth is brutal. Most people don't actually want to wake up, because waking up means one thing: you can never go back. And for many people, that's terrifying. Your mind isn't designed to seek truth. It's designed to keep you comfortable. And that's why when people get a glimpse of reality, they reject it, because waking up means questioning everything you were taught, accepting that most of your beliefs were never truly yours, realizing that the world doesn't work the way you thought it did, and that level of self-awareness, it's painful. So instead, most people choose denial, because staying asleep is easier. Even when people see the truth, they often turn back. Why? Because the mind is built for habit and repetition. It resists anything that threatens its programming. That's why people return to toxic relationships even after leaving. They keep destructive habits even when they know better. They stay in miserable jobs even when opportunities exist elsewhere. It's not because they don't want change, it's because change feels like death to the subconscious mind, and so it fights back hard. Imagine this: you've lived in a comfortable illusion your whole life, but one day you see the truth. You realize you've been manipulated, your choices were never fully yours. The path you were given was designed to keep you weak. Now you have two options. Go back to sleep, forget what you saw. Live life as usual. Pretend nothing happened. Or 2, wake up completely. Destroy your old identity. Accept that everything must change. Face the unknown. Most people, they choose option 1 because ignorance is safe. But here's the problem. Once you've seen the truth, you can never truly unsee it. Look at people who escape toxic relationships, only to go right back. Look at people who leave soul-crushing jobs, only to return to the same type of work. Why does this happen? Because even when people get free, they feel lost. The unknown is more terrifying than the pain they already understand. So they go back, not because they love their suffering, but because it's familiar. And that's why most people never wake up. Because breaking free doesn't just mean escaping the system. It means building a new life from nothing. And that takes real courage. So if you're truly ready to wake up, here's what you need to do. Accept that you will never fit in again once you break free. You will never see the world the same way. You won't care about pointless drama. You won't be entertained by distractions. You won't relate to people who are still asleep. This is the cost of waking up, and most people can't handle it. But if you can, you will finally become your own person. Kill your old identity. The biggest reason people stay asleep, they refuse to let go of who they used to be. They still want to be accepted. They still want validation. They still want to fit in. But the truth is, you can't wake up and stay the same person. The old version of you has to die. The version that cared too much about what people think. The version that was afraid to be different. The version that was programmed by society. Because until you burn your old identity, you will always be dragged back into the illusion. Embrace discomfort. It's the only way to grow. Waking up isn't easy. It's painful. Not because they can't, but because they don't want to. Because the truth hurts. Because real freedom comes at a cost. But the question is, are you willing to pay that price? Or will you go back to sleep? Here's something most people will never do. Sit alone, in silence, with nothing but their thoughts. Because in a world of constant distractions, people fear silence, they fear stillness, they fear facing their own mind. But deep thinking doesn't just happen. You have to train it. And one of the most powerful ways to do this? Writing. Why? Because writing forces you to slow down, to organize your thoughts, to see the patterns in your own mind, and most importantly, to question yourself. If you want to break free, here's how you start. Your brain runs on loops. Most of what you think today, you thought yesterday. So the first step to reprogramming your mind? Observe. What do you think about when you wake up? What beliefs shape your decisions? What emotions control you the most? Because if you never audit your own mind, you will never know who's really in control. Challenge one core belief. Every day, pick one belief. It can be about life, success, happiness, or even yourself, and ask, what if this is completely false? Most people never do this. They accept their beliefs as truth. But here's the reality. Most beliefs are just stories we've been told. Rewrite them, because if you don't, they will control you forever. Limit the noise. Reduce mental pollution. The world is loud. Social media, news cycles, endless entertainment, and all of it is designed to do one thing: keep your mind distracted. If you're constantly consuming, you're not thinking, so cut the noise. Spend time in silence. Take breaks from content. Learn to sit with your own thoughts, because clarity doesn't come from adding more. It comes from removing what isn't needed. Create a thinking ritual every day. The most powerful people in history made time to think, not just react, not just consume, but to sit, reflect, and see the world from a higher level. You need the same. Set aside time each day just to think. Write down insights that come to you. Let your mind wander, without distractions, because in this modern world, thinking is a lost art. But if you master it, you will always be in control. Look at history. Look at the people who changed the world. They didn't just follow, they questioned, they challenged, and they rewrote the rules of their own mind. From ancient philosophers to modern revolutionaries, the people who broke free were the ones who first broke their own programming. And now, you have that same choice. What if your mind is just a program, waiting to be rewritten? Right now, you are either in control of your mind or someone else. There is no in-between, but the real question is, will you take control? Or will you let the world program you forever? The choice is yours. But just remember, if you don't rewrite your mind, someone else will. Waking up is only the first step. Staying awake, that's the real challenge, because the moment you stop paying attention, the system pulls you back in. Distractions return, old habits resurface, and before you know it, you're back on autopilot. So how do you stay awake every single day? That's what we're about to uncover. The illusion of permanent awareness. Why waking up is never once and done. Most people think once you wake up, you stay awake forever. But that's not how it works. The mind wants comfort. It craves familiarity, and if you're not careful, it will drag you back into the very patterns you escaped from. Because here's the truth. Awareness is not a one-time event. It's a daily practice. Every day, you must choose to be awake, or the world will choose for you. How to develop a lifelong practice of awareness. If you want to stay awake, you need a system, a mental framework that keeps you from slipping back into unconscious living. Here's how. The morning check-in. Start each day with awareness. Most people wake up and immediately check their phones, jump into work, get lost in distractions. But if you want to live consciously, you must take control the moment you wake up. Here's how. Before doing anything, take 1 minute to check in with yourself. Ask, what is my intention for today? Remind yourself, I choose awareness over autopilot. This small habit, it rewires your brain, and over time, it keeps you from falling back asleep. Set triggers to snap yourself out of autopilot. No matter how aware you are, the system will try to pull you back in. So you need triggers, reminders that jolt you back into awareness. Try this. Every time you check your phone, ask, "Am I acting consciously or just out of habit?" Set alarms labeled "Wake Up" throughout your day. Wear a bracelet or ring as a reminder to stay present. These simple cues, they interrupt the cycle of unconscious behavior, and they pull you back into reality. The power of slowing down. Why conscious living requires stillness. The modern world is built for speed. Everything moves fast, but consciousness? It requires slowing down. That means eating without distractions, walking without headphones, being fully present in conversations, because the slower you move, the more you notice, and the more you notice, the harder it is to fall back asleep. Question everything. The habit of radical self-inquiry. The moment you stop questioning, you start following, and that's when the system wins. So train your mind to doubt. Doubt every belief you hold. Doubt the media you consume. Doubt your own thoughts. Ask yourself, who told me this? Why do I believe it? What if I'm wrong? Because the only way to stay awake is to never stop questioning. The dangers of slipping back into autopilot mode. Most people wake up, then go right back to sleep. Why? Because staying aware is uncomfortable. It forces you to see things as they really are. It makes you question your past choices. It requires effort every single day, and that's why so many people give up. But the moment you let go, the system welcomes you back with open arms. So, remember, staying asleep is easy. Staying awake is a fight, but it's a fight worth having. Look at history's greatest minds. They didn't just wake up once, they built rituals to stay awake. Stoic philosophers wrote daily reflections to sharpen their minds. Spiritual seekers retreated into solitude to disconnect from distractions. The common theme? They made awareness a daily discipline because they knew, without practice, consciousness fades. The world is designed to keep you asleep, to distract you, to numb you, to make you forget. But now, you know the truth. And once you know, you have two choices. Let yourself drift back into unconscious living. 2, fight every day to stay awake. The choice is yours. But just remember, the moment you stop paying attention is the moment you fall back asleep. Most people think they are awake. They believe they see the truth. They believe they make their own choices. But what if they're just dreaming? Trapped in a reality they never questioned. Living inside an illusion they never escaped. What if the freedom they think they have isn't freedom at all? And what if the only way to truly wake up is to take control of your own reality? You've seen how the system works. You now know the truth. How society keeps people passive and obedient. How fear, distraction, and routine create mental prisons. How most people never question their existence. And the most terrifying part? They don't even realize they're asleep. They live predictable lives. They follow the script given to them. And they never stop to ask, is this all there is? But you did? You ask the question, and once you ask, there's no going back. The final truth, self-awareness, is the only real power. There is one thing the system fears more than anything else, a man who can think for himself. Because the moment you become truly self-aware, you become unstoppable. You stop chasing empty goals designed to control you. You stop being a puppet of media, culture, and fear. You stop being manipulated by distractions, opinions, and illusions. Instead, you start thinking for yourself. You start questioning everything. You start seeing the world as it really is. And that is real power, because the man who sees through the illusion can bend reality to his will. When you wake up, everything changes. You start making your own choices instead of following pre-made scripts. You stop seeking validation and start acting with purpose. You break free from the mental cages designed to keep you weak, because now you understand. You don't exist to fit in. You don't exist to follow rules blindly. You don't exist to live the same life as everyone else. You exist to create, to shape your own path, to design your own reality. And the moment you take control, the world bends to your will. One question that separates the awake from the asleep: are you truly free, or are you still following the script? Because waking up isn't enough. You have to stay awake every single day. That means no more mindless distractions, no more living for validation, no more letting fear control you. Instead, question everything. Take full responsibility for your life. Create your own meaning, purpose, and truth. Because the truth is, the world is yours, if you're brave enough to see it. If you've made it this far, you're already different. You're already seeing the cracks in the illusion. And now, you have two choices. Go back to sleep. Pretend you never heard this. Live the life that was designed for you. 2. Stay awake. Take control. Start living on your own terms. But remember, once you wake up, there's no going back. So the real question is, are you truly awake or just dreaming of freedom?